Hello everyone and welcome back to the KO rounds of the Austrian Legacy Masters. We are now in the quarterfinals and we have one very juicy matchup for you. Daniel, what is the matchup?
Yeah, we have the top eight. Actually, have you discussed about the top eight announcement? Have
No,
you seen
oh,
my-
totally forgot about it.
Maybe we should just quickly go over the top eight, right? A little bit.
We have on 8th place, we have Nadu, Bant Nadu from Florian Peter.
Yeah.
Then we have on 7th place, that's Tamas Kukuchka on Tron.
Yeah.
Again, a very strong showing from Tamas.
In all
On
three tournaments,
all
basically.
three
Yeah.
tournaments, top 8. Then we have on 6th place, Martin Dolak. What is Martin playing?
This we need to look, and I'm not sure right now.
You're not sure? Then Martin Dolak. For sure on the second side. Cephalid Breakfast.
Yeah.
Also very interesting. On 5th place we have Alexander Meyer.
He plays Blue Black Tempo.
Blue-Black
Just
Tempo.
today, yeah.
Then we have Vincent Joe on the Epic Storm.
Yeah.
Really strong showing from this combo deck. Then Thomas Flacek
Esper midrange.
on Esper midrange. Peter Gärtner,
He's also, I think, on Blue Black Tempo.
another Blue-Black Tempo player.
think-
And Kevin Kara that we are now seeing with Blue-Red Corey Steelcutter.
Yeah. Quite a bit of tempo actually here in this top eight. Yesterday it was much more diverse, but I think there's 2 or 3 copies of tempo and blue based blue black and blue black tempos.
Okay, I think we can hop into the match and take a look at them at our quarterfinals. So, Kevin is leading with an untapped volcanic island. We've seen very beautifully altered
Yeah.
lands by Kevin in the last game.
Yeah, I guess he is waiting for his 4th one or something like that. To be overall.
Okay.
I-
So it's playing mismatched?
I guess so, yeah, because now we see just a normal version here.
Who do you think is favored in this matchup?
Yeah, interesting. Bant Nadu. This is like not a breakfast version that we also have in the top 8. It has Nadu and kind of a mid-range plan with a more fair game plan and tries to outvalue the opponent with the combination of Momatsenko and Nadu. And what's interesting is that this version also opts to play the new
Skyfcat Cup.
Skyfcat Cup. Yeah, it's a potent threat on its own as well, and also it has nice synergy with Nadu. And the longer the game for sure goes, the more it is favored for Peter here in that sense. Kevin has a lot of punch potential,
Yeah.
and it makes sense, of course, that Kevin wants to close the game quite fast. And in this case, there's not a turn 1, but a turn 2. Darcy is already a good start that puts a little bit of pressure on Peter.
Especially if you follow it up with a Wasteland.
Yeah.
So
Good.
therefore you can't really get your colors going.
Good thing though is that this Bant Nado deck operates pretty nicely on basics. It has a couple of dual lands, but it's not operating that much on it. Also, in addition, with a couple of mana dogs, there's like Delighted Halfling that helps to cast their spells. And as we can see here now, Peter can just fetch for the island and also the plains and have a pretty stable mana base.
Yeah, we already seen that pretty stable mana bases are pretty strong in Legacy again.
Yeah.
The basically Wasteland is everywhere, and having your basics in your deck means that you can always play the game.
Yeah, there's I would say a little bit of a threshold. Like if you only have 2 basics or something like that in your deck, and you have a lot of different colored spells, it is difficult to just think that having the basics to ensure my land drop. So let's say the lands are on the battlefield are good enough, because Legacy is also a lot about double spelling. You
Yeah.
have to you actually want to utilize your cards, and if you're stuck with only casting 1 spell per turn just because you have basics, it is also difficult.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. But Peter is opting here for the snow-covered forest.
I would assume so, just to make sure that all his colors are online and safe.
And now, yeah, what would you play right now? You wouldn't play a Nadu into Days territory, right?
Right, yeah. I think respecting the days is something that Peter certainly wants to do. He's not really under pressure, and there's no need to deploy an early, unless there's like a duplicate copy or something like that. But I think if he has the lands, he can safely just play around days.
So is your Green Sun Zenith X1?
Mm-hmm.
What do you look at? Delighted Halfling, probably?
Halfling could be a good option exactly to further develop the mana. A Nomads is also an option what he has, and what I think is particularly strong, maybe later on in the game, will be the Sylvan Safekeeper, that helps to actually keep his threat alive. Yeah.
Do you know the Big Les show? The chat is asking us. I don't know. What's
The
that?
Big Less, never actually heard of that. Good question. Well, maybe you can explain a little bit better what it is.
Okay, so the Delight Halfling gets bolted. That's fine, I guess, for Peter's side.
Yeah, Kevin wants to deploy for sure and digs now for. First of all, he needs another land for sure to develop his mana further, and he needs another threat to
He has
start.
Force in hand, as far as I can see.
Yeah.
Darcy.
Darcy is for sure nice.
But the one thing I don't like about Kevin's deck is that he plays the wrong kind of. Ah, no, it's actually it's a tempo deck, so therefore it's okay to play these kind of brainstorms. Just because it's that aggressive, I would have opted more for the Ice Age ones, but
Yeah, but
it's fine.
as you established, those are the combo brainstorms, right?
The Ice Age brainstorm has the combo brainstorms, yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking about the brainstorm.
Yeah, brainstorming is always pretty hard. Yeah, my brainstorms are sun bleached, so I'm a special kind of guy. If Photobills wouldn't be that expensive, I would have a second playset just to sun bleach it.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter, I think he has another fetch land in hand, so he could also at some point start to casting his 3-drops around days. So something like a Teferi or even later on a Nadu.
Teferi would be awesome.
Teferi is always pretty strong, especially on an empty board like this. And there is no Bowmasters on the side from Kevin because he's not black. So yeah, at some point it will definitely be a potent thing.
So we have Skyscat Cup, or like Philip Ontolz in the chat already said, Sky the Cat.
Sky the Cat, yeah. It can go to the sky pretty heavily fast,
pretty
yeah.
easily, bam!
Yeah. I think with 2 fetch lands, it's almost, I think, easily an 8/8.
Something like that.
And it's trample as well. This is something that makes it really a strong threat on its own. And I like it very much in this deck, particularly, just because it can trigger Nado as well if you have that. So it works. This Breakfast, for example, has Shuko as an extra trigger enabler for Nado. And this kind of deck has a little bit of struggle to get consistent enablers for the Nado. The Nomads you cannot Green Sun Zenith for.
Yeah.
And you don't have the Shukos with the Ursa Saga. So you need something that you can tutor up with the Green Suns. And this Cup is actually a very, very solid addition for that. And it's just a threat on its own as well.
And now we see Green Sun Zenith on a Dryad Arbor to get another landfall trigger.
I'm assuming, yeah. Which would double the tokens, the counters now. Mixing it should be a 6/6, I think.
Yeah, probably. Now it can only get killed.
So it's a 4/4, I think.
A 4/4. Okay, now
Should be 4/4. Like first counter and then doubling it should be then.
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think it's a 2/2. So yeah, it's a 2/2. Then you play fetch land. Then it's a 3/3. Then you fetch. Then it's a 4/4. And
then you cast the Green Sun.
Green Sun Zenith, so it's a 5/5.
No, and in the second round it doubles the counters first. So
yeah. The first you put one counter on, it's a 3/3. Then you fetch again. then
Then
the
it,
counters are doubled.
Yeah,
So it's a 4-4.
Yeah.
And then the Netherlands full trigger puts just a counter on it.
Yeah. True. Makes sense.
So Cameo, which will get hit probably by swords.
Far. Let's see if Peter has actually one sword in hand or
just land falling again.
now it's a 6/6. Yeah, this cup.
Keeping it at top. Oh yeah, swinging in and blocking. That's pretty great for Peter.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to see this block. I mean,
Yeah,
he
me
brands
too.
3 of the 6 damage. He's still, yeah. I don't think he's too much under pressure at the moment, and Kevin doesn't really have anything going on besides that. I mean, Kevin is missing lands for sure. He definitely wants to be able to cast 2 spells per turn, and he only has this one volcanic anvil at this point, which is a big problem. Ah, now we see why he did it. Because
Oh,
of Unholy Heat,
yeah.
that makes sense. He
Kill
gets
the cup
yeah, and I guess this is in response to
to endurance trigger.
the endurance trigger, or just the endurance itself, exactly. Yeah, this is a nice play then. Then I like it.
Yeah, good question. Why did you wait for the untap?
Which
to do
untap?
this? It's now, I think, upkeep or draw step from Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, I think he didn't have the mana because he just played the Tamio, so he wasn't able to. Oh,
He wasn't able to unholy heat then.
But this is anyway. Yeah, this was
That's-
actually in his end step, so if I'm not mistaken. Okay, but yeah, Core Steel Cutter is at least one card that can potentially bring some board presence to the table.
But it's fine if you just put Core Steel Cut on the table and wait for another turn. That's
Nadu is
okay.
Nadu is pretty strong, also as a threat, and yeah, totally get why Kevin has to fire off his Force of Will here.
Yeah, for sure. Do we see a force? Or even a daze? Okay. Boussaid during Core Steel Cutter.
Yeah.
I like that play. Core Steel
Yeah.
Cutter can get out of hand very, very easily. Although it fixes the mana of Kevin.
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially as it gets to search for a land with a basic type, so it can get one of his volcanic islands. So yeah, there's a consideration actually not to Poseidon here, and maybe yeah, just leave it in play because I think Kevin has only one card in hand at this point, and the endurance is also pretty good at just blocking some of the monk tokens. But we'll see. It definitely has more lands at this point than the endurance on the battlefield.
A miser
Yeah.
1/1.
Miser bomb
Darcy.
at this point, yeah. Tempo deck for sure play on thin margins overall.
Yeah, sure.
And they can if they maneuver right and tightly, they can for sure turn things around at some point, even if we might not expect it. So we'll see.
Yeah, Brainstorm and Force in Peter's hand. Yeah, we should check this in the when we can rewatch it.
It could be, of course, now it's way too late, but it could be that we thought of that there was a wrong turn cycle basically at the moment. Yeah, but we have of course one judge upstairs that keeps watching and has a look on the matches.
Yeah. Nadu resolves. Brainstorm and Force of Will still in hand.
Yeah, second Nado even is super
Strong.
Yes, not exactly what Kevin wants to see. He kind of needs that Peter breaks a couple of turns so that he's actually able to generate some presence of his own. the Dragon Age Channeler on its own won't really do super much.
Against the free force
Yeah, and
with
it's a,
reach.
also it's looking now to not actually enable Delirium, because there could be a situation where Kevin has to attack into the Nadu or Endurance and just gets blocked away. Not ideal, I would say.
And now surveilling away, or not surveilling, a land. That's fine, no delirium here.
Yeah, it's Brazen Borrower. Yeah,
Hardcast, that's okay.
it's
It's force pitch force, okay. That's fine for Peter here.
he could have even had kept the force, because I don't think he cares too much about the
No,
Borrower
for a
on the back.
free, you don't care about a free one
Yeah,
actually.
you could save it for something more impactful if there was a card or a threat from Kevin.
And
think-
but DRC has now to. Oh wow, we missed that. DRC would
There's
have had to attack.
creature, land, artifact. Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I think this is we need to clarify. This is something that we, of course, cannot. We might need to rewind that. Let's see if we can get that. We need to. I think they're maybe clarifying that at this point. But it's true. Yeah. Because of the
End step.
or was it? Or was? Depends on when.
Yeah, it was end step.
Yeah, we don't know at this point. They have to clarify.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe it depends on when Kevin actually cast the. Maybe it was really end step. Yeah, end of turn because then untapped.
Yeah, unfortunately, we
is-
can't hear anything. Judge is here at the table, so
We just need to make sure that this is clarified, of course.
yeah.
We can only judge from what we see here.
Yeah, we are 2 floors below, so doesn't really work from our perspective. I mean, we are in touch with the guys on top, but we can't just write them through a Discord channel.
Yeah. Maybe we can add that, at least from our perspective, it was not clear that not.
So it gets put back. Clive got put back, so we rewind it as far as it's possible. DRC had to attack. Yeah, it was and that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, if it was end step, then it wouldn't have to attack.
Yeah.
So actually it was not. So because of that.
Yeah, it was end step Prison Borrower, then it's forced, then you have Delirium, then you untap, and then you have Delirium and you get to attack phase.
Sure, yeah.
And I think Nadu or Endurance was
I was the
Yeah. It happened a little bit fast.
True, yeah. This is.
And so DRC had to attack.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have first game in the.
We have the first game for Bant Nadu. After sideboarding, we take a look at the deck lists. For Peter Florian, we've got a couple of flowers maybe to bring in. I like this against Delta with the Daisies and the Wastelands.
Yeah, exactly. This is for sure a very potent card against all blue fast tempo decks. It
Then
certainly looks to bring those in.
Sure. Then I really like the Hydroblasts.
Yeah.
To kill some.
Yeah, no brainers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Easy. Will you bring in Veil of Summers?
Yeah, it depends a little bit. Well, Force of Will is already a 2-for-1, and I'm kind of happy if like and I think with the basics and how this deck is configured, Peter Florian, unless there's too much pressure early on, but he can play around days. As we saw here, for example, for this one, he has the potential to do that. And I don't know if you just want to have Veil of Summer for the Force of Wills. So
yeah, instead of Force of Will. Or
no, against the Force of Will. I'm not sure if there is enough of a advantage. I mean, because if my Nado gets Force of Will, it's already a 2-for-1. I'm happy with that, right? It's, I think, more of an attrition game, but can be the case. I think it's more potent against the black decks because of the black removal that actually also
Yeah, for sure.
helps to um, um, protect their threats with the fail pushes, for example, which is not the case here for this blue-red deck.
Yeah, I don't like the collector oof, but I really like another endurance.
Yeah,
To be a little bit bigger, to block the tokens away, to
yeah, endurance is
block
for sure.
Darcy.
Yeah, endurance is for sure also
I
potent.
wouldn't bring in Force of Negations, no Force
No.
of Vigor, no Silent Gravestone.
No, no, that sounds very solid, and I think, yeah, Peter Florian can maybe trim on, yeah, sometimes they trim a little bit on this nomads like interaction pieces because they get bolted quite easily, and on its own they are not super adding value. Force of Will is also not a card really that looks to be super strong, just because the Pyroblast that will potentially coming from Kevin's side, so he could also trim those, I think. And Kevin, maybe if we had a look at his deck,
Here's Kevin's.
yeah, there's for sure something. He is, of course, interested to bring in all the Pyroblasts. Getting to deal with the Nadu is very crucial, especially when you can do so very favorably on the stack. And maybe what's also interesting is a Braid is not the ideal removal. It cannot kill a Nadu, but it can kill potentially other stuff. So I could see it also brings in the Abrade, but mostly the Pyroblast for sure. That will come in from Kevin's side, I think.
What do you think about Graphics Cage?
Yeah. Just sure, I will look at that one. Yeah, in case of the Green Sun is definitely a solid pick as well for this deck. Yeah, yeah.
And what do you think about the Surgical?
I'm not a fan for surgical in attrition based games actually, more or less. I mean,
Why? Why Surgical? Why don't you like Surgical? I mean, you can do all the things. You can excite a Nadu, and then there's no Nadu more. Or
the thing is that this deck is not non-functional without the Nadu. Nadu is of course the most potent threat, and you're happy to surgically it. But I'm not sure. You know, it can also be you draw it and it does nothing kind of thing. I think it's super dicey actually to.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But that's also my personal feeling on that. You might opt to just still bring it in just because Kevin is for sure the aggressor, and he definitely also doesn't seek the long game at all.
The only reason why I would like Surgical here is because it enables double spelling a lot easier. It's another zero cost spell.
Yeah. But it's not a spell that adds to the.
No,
presence.
just because of Core Steel Cut, and you go.
Yeah. For Core Steel Cut, of course, yeah.
That's the only reason I would bring in Surgical. I don't really like it in this mid-range matchups. It's certainly a trap. It's normally a trap. Maybe with Core Steel Cut that has shifted a little bit. So we see here at turn 1 Darcy, probably into Misha's Bauble. The best start Delva can have. But it's tempo, so
It's not really Delva.
no. Already talked about it.
Yeah.
Delva is pretty much gone.
Yeah, sometimes it pops up, but it always, if the next best let's say threat is printed, then Delva is the usual card that goes away instead of that, and Darcy is now, if you think about red versions, is firmly ahead. Devil's Delaware, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so now we see the Bauble.
You think so?
Yeah, that's such a strong start from Kevin.
I think there is no bobble in Kevin's hand. I think I saw 2 Fossil Wills and maybe 2 Wastelands, I'm not sure.
I mean, if he would have brought in Surgical, he could have Surgical his own Scalding card and failed to find.
Yeah, and I'm not super sure that's I mean, it triggers of course both cards, but I'm not super sure you want that.
No,
This I'm thinking, like, if you bring in Surgical for that, that's not a good sideboard decision in that case.
Yeah, fetching now for basic planes. Do you now sort the steel cutter?
You mean the Darcy?
The Darcy. Yeah, sorting steel cutter would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the advantage of the Core Steel Cutter, that it just isn't, let's say, a machine kind of that produces more and more threads on its own, and it's harder to deal with.
Okay, fetching on the forest. What is happening?
Yeah,
Maybe a carpet. Carpet would be really strong here. Yeah. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
I could see that Kevin might force this, but
Yeah, I think if you're on Karen's side,
it's
you have
tough.
to force this.
It's tough. The hand of Peter is still quite packed, and yeah,
Okay, force pitch force is
the unfortunate part I think is
kinda
that
hard.
it doesn't trigger the core steal in that point, and now I don't think he has at the moment more spells. I guess he knew the top card of his deck because there was no Darcy trigger also,
Mm.
but I'm not sure about this. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
forgot
this
about
is
Surveil.
th-
Surveil is his choice if he doesn't want it.
and you can also miss triggers. This is a competitive environment, so if it's your beneficial trigger, you have to announce it and you can miss it. So yeah,
Time you got equipped with.
giving it haste and +1/+1 and trample.
Could be. Could be that he missed the Surveil from Peter Corey.
Yeah. That's might explain why I didn't choose the
Okay,
survey.
do you really want to fetch here for Savannah?
Yeah, if he has a lot of green cards and he needs 2 green mana, of course, I could see that. I'm assuming he has another fetch land.
Okay. Yeah, we have the correct tokens. I don't know why they aren't using it. They are on the table. Besides them. So, I don't know. We provided everything, basically.
This is a clue token.
Yeah.
But, from the Temu attack.
And now fetching.
Darcy at the moment is still a 1/1. There's 2 types in the graveyard, but this is of course
This is now
good.
strong. This is
Yeah,
now really, really strong.
that's very good. If you kind of find another spell that he can cast right now, it would also trigger the Core Steel Cutter.
If he has 4 looks, he will find a spell that he can cast.
Yeah, it's very likely. Let's see what he finds. He's certainly in a good position to build up now pressure and pressure. Of course, this cup on the side from Peter, he cannot ignore that for forever. I mean, it grows really fast and he has to find a way how to deal with that. And of course, Unholy Hit, as we saw from last game, is a nice one. He has to factor that as well if he can find it. Unfortunately, there's only 2 copies of that in his deck, and the cup at this point is out of board range.
It gets pretty fast. Yeah, it's out of bolt range and it's out of unholy heat range. You can only bounce it.
Yeah. This is why I really like this cup in the deck from this Bant Nadu version. Because like unanswered, this is just a threat on its own that can win games.
Yeah. But no double spell here.
Seems like it, yeah.
That's pretty lucky for Peter here. So he just takes the, what it is for?
Damage, you mean?
Yeah,
I,
poor
I,
damage.
I don't think it's a delirious. Or is it? Yeah, I
It's
think
not delirious.
I can only see like 3 types in the
Yeah.
graveyard. So yeah, maybe that's interesting why he attacks then.
Yeah, probably he has something, an instant or so, maybe a
Is
bolt
is
where he
this
wants to kill the cup.
is this a core steel cut? No.
No, it's a Scalding Tarn.
Scalding Tongue, right? So even with the Wastelands, you could not enable Delirium. Interesting.
It's Ponder land. No. Even with Wasteland, it didn't work. So we have now a Delighted Halfling. And do we see? Not a fetch land, unfortunately.
Yeah, this would be a big double up of counters
Oh,
for the
that would
cup.
be awesome. Do you think Kevin is now double wastelanding?
Double Wasteland. I don't think that the Wastelands matter too much. I mean, yeah, sure. However, yeah,
Endurance is now pretty great.
it would really. I think this halfling is still on summoning sickness.
It's still summoning sick, yeah.
So a days would have been very nice here.
He forces the endurance.
Fast endurance and triggering the Darcy.
Do you force here back? Because if
Does Peter have the option to?
I don't know if he has the force in hand.
I don't think there is a force from Peter. And I think there's still no delirium. Should not be.
No delirium. Not delirious. I mean, the attack with Tamio is.
What makes me believe maybe is that Kevin has a bolt in hand.
Yeah, I also think so that there's a bolt in hand.
But here I would definitely take the block. The halfling, I would assume.
Is the halfling 1 or
1/2? It's a 1/2.
1/2.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah, that's fine.
he could bolt it anyway if it was on the table, and yeah.
Ah, that's the unholy heat. Yeah, the force was. I've thought about what is the second spell.
Yeah, first was the force and then the unholy heat. And now we have a monk token. And I think also delirium.
Now it's delirium, yeah. Yeah, maybe the endurance was a little bit premature.
But it's okay. I mean, I think it would have been much worse if it got dazed. But
Yeah.
trading with a force is still a 2-for-1. It's okay. The cup is still on the battlefield, and I don't think there is a. Given now that the unholy heat is on the graveyard, that there's a good chance that Kevin can remove that cup anymore at this point.
Especially when we can now fetch land.
Yeah. He can I guess bounce it with a Brazen Bowra.
Yeah, and that's the only thing.
That's probably the only thing that he has at this point. And given the fact that this is trample, it just rumbles over the opponent at some point.
And it's now insanely huge.
Either 10-10 or 14-14, I'm not sure. This could even be lethal. Because Kevin only has this 2/2 as a blocker. And he's at 12 life.
And Peter is certainly not dying on the backswing.
Yeah. He could look for a green chance. He needs to search for another Dryad Arbor.
Ooh, wow.
Which would trigger the cup again. Okay, the brainstorm got blasted. Yeah.
Which is fine. think it's still okay for Peter. How big is the cup right now? Can you see it?
It must be either, I think, 12-12 or 14-14, I think. If it is a 14-14, of course, this would be lethal. Oh no, not really, because of the blast now, and the monk is now 3-3.
The monk is now 3-3, okay.
Because of the, if he remembers. Oh yeah,
Prismatic ending.
that
Ooh,
also works.
on
Yeah.
the token.
That works. And I think it should be a 12-12 at least, so I think it's lethal actually.
Okay.
Unless it's a...
Why don't you exile the token then?
Okay, so that's a 10-10.
Is that enough?
I would assume so. Like on 11 points damage, he only has at the time, if he even have, let's say if he has two, unless he has 2 bolts exactly, maybe here. So that it would be 9 plus 3, yeah, that would be 12 damage. Yeah.
Exactly 2 bolts.
Basically, would need now 2 double bolts.
Double bolts or a brazen borrower to be back in the game.
Yep. Yeah.
Bolt and pyroblast.
It was at least was 1 bolt, yeah. Almost, yeah. But
So,
yeah.
nice match. Peter Florian advancing to the semi-finals.
Pretty cleanly, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe we can get the second match on, or one of the second match. Which one do you want to see?
I'm not sure. We need to check what is available. There is
we have Peter Gärtner on blue-black versus Tron.
Yeah, this Tron deck is also be nice to watch.
Esper versus blue-black. And we have Tess versus
also blue-black.
Also blue-black.
Yeah. A lot of blue-black.
A lot of blue-black.
Yeah.
Let's talk with the guys. Okay, no backup match anymore.
Okay.
So
maybe all of the matches
the quarterfinals are over. What the hell?
Yeah, they played of course in parallel. Could be that everybody's done. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, one of them are playing the last game, so I think we talk a little bit.
Yeah.
And
why not?
Yeah, awesome. So wow, Corey Steelcutter has found its end boss in Bant Nadu mid range.
Yeah. I think this Bant Nadu is impressive, and it has kind of a really stable mana base. Of course, it's a little bit more clunky because of the amounts of free drops that it has, but the cup definitely showed a pretty strong game here. I think also in the last game, even though it got unholy heated, but it was a must answer threat. And yeah, if the Bant Nadu deck gets to deploy land drops, fetches for its basics safely, and can remove 1 or 2 threats early, it's just running away with the game, I think. And I also think that the Bant Nadu deck is has a little bit on the edge here against the blue-red Izzet deck here.
Yeah, I also think. I think the biggest advantage or the plan that blue-red here has to commit to would be Corey Steelcutter.
Corey Steelcutter and overwhelming the opponent very fast.
Because this deck with the pinpoint removal can't really deal with a lot of tokens.
Yeah, exactly. So something like turn 1 Darcy into maybe Corey Steel into Bauble or something like that.
Boom.
And if you have like a timely force of will in the days on something like that, the good thing for the Bant deck is that Wasteland, it's not super effective against them if for the amount of basics and the mana dogs.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, this is kind of what Kevin would have hoped for. Unfortunately, it didn't align for him in this match. And yeah, Bant Nadu is now in the quarterfinals.
So we take a short break and we see you back in the semifinals.